Hi everyone, this is Ranger Bolick from Falls Lake State Recreation Area, coming to you from the Creedmoor branch of the Granville County Libraries, where at this time you can participate in their summer reading program by signing up online and then collecting books curbside to be safe. And so a little bit about Falls Lake. We are a lake, we're a recreation area. We offer, of course, boating and fishing and hiking and picnic facilities, as well as a few campgrounds. And we're located along Highway 50 and Highway 98 in between Wake Forest and Durham. And today I'd like to talk to you about a few of the animals that you can find at Falls Lake. But before I get started, I'd like to remind everyone that all animals are wild and they need to stay that way. So please never attempt to approach, to pet, or feed any animals, because we don't want you to hurt them or them to hurt you. Keep a safe distance. Alright, first off, let's talk about a few mammals that you'd find at Falls Lake. Here we have a raccoon, native to all of North America. They prefer mixed hardwood forest, meaning lots of oaks and beeches and ash, and other things that they can hide in and play in and climb in and scramble on. But they can adjust to any environment, including probably your backyard. They will have this gray, dusky brown coat their entire lives, which is only actually about 3 years in the wild, and most adults will be 10 to 15 pounds when fully grown. They're a social animal. Females will raise their nests close to each other, and males will live in groups of up to 4, especially in the winter, when they can share a nest to stay warm together. And you can always identify a raccoon by its white face and its black eyeline, which has sometimes earned them the nickname trash bandits, because they're omnivores and scavengers, and they'll eat anything, including your trash and food off your campsite, in addition to the berries and fish they enjoy in the wild. So make sure, if you go camping, to lock all your coolers and store your food inside at night where they can't get to it. Next, I'd like to talk about something a little larger that you'll see around the park, especially standing in roadways. We have white-tailed deer. They are an ungulate, which means a warm-blooded, four-legged, split-hoof animal, an herbivore. In this area of Raleigh, they like to vary a little bit in weight, but generally you'll find the males, the bucks, to be between 100 and 200 pounds when grown, and the does, the females, to be 80 to 150, so a little bit smaller. And the easiest way to identify a buck from spring all the way, from say March all the way into December, is they'll have antlers. Now, of course, they're males, so they like to mate and they like to mark their territory. They'll use these antlers to scratch on trees and rub off bark, and during the summer and into the fall, before they shed, they will use them to scratch at the ground, dig for acorns, and scratch up the last few roots going into winter that they can get easy access to for food. They are foragers. So during the summer, they'll eat grasses and berries and anything, any vegetation they can get on the forest floor. And then as grasses and herbs die off over fall and into winter, they'll start climbing up trees, and we'll call it a browse line. Now they're not climbing trees, they're stretching their necks as far as they can to get at those low-hanging limbs and get at the leaves that are left. And then they'll shed their antlers once a year and regrow them. Now, if you find an antler shed in the woods, we ask you to leave it alone, because they are bone and they're made of calcium. And we have rodents and other animals that will actually, including our raccoon, eat these as a source of calcium for themselves. And now we'd like to talk about fawns, their children. So as you can see in our replica here, fawns will have white spots that will fade as they age. And they're normally born in spring, and they'll grow out or grow off by the fall. This helps conceal them. It creates natural camouflage when they're hiding in leaves or in tall grass. So if you find a fawn by itself in the woods, leave it be. Sometimes the mothers just need a break or need to go forage for more food for themselves, and they will stash their fawns in one place, and they will come back to them. So if you find a fawn, leave it where it is. It'll be taken care of soon. Here we have something a little different, not quite a mammal, a marsupial, a possum, North America's only marsupial. The difference being mammals give birth to fully formed young. Marsupials will give birth, and then the mother will carry those children in a special pouch on her stomach for typically 2 months until they are large enough to begin foraging for food on their own. Now again, the possum is North America's only native marsupial, and so they are really unique in a lot of ways. First off, they have 50 teeth. They're omnivores. They'll eat meat and plants, and those 50 different teeth have allowed them to chew on anything. I think it's pretty cool to have a very healthy diet. Second, they have a prehensile tail, meaning that they have muscle along the entire length of their tail to allow them to use it. And you can see here that this would be how they use it in the wild, to wrap around a tree branch for balance or to hang from a limb. Or if they want to build a nest or carry food, they can use it for that too. It's like having a third arm. It's pretty useful. And finally, you might be able to see it, they have an opposable thumb on their hind leg, which allows them to, again, grasp and climb very well. So we get a lot of people that say, well, they have so many teeth and they hiss at you when you encounter them. I don't really like possums. Well, possums and raccoons are very similar in that they'll eat anything they can. And so sometimes you might have a negative encounter when one ends up in your garage or trying to go through your trash. And so instead of trying to kill it, we would encourage you to call animal control in order to relocate the animal, because possums eat ticks, which are an 8-legged parasite that looks kind of like a bug, but they carry lots of diseases. And possums are immune to most of those diseases, and they can eat 200 ticks a day, which means less chance of you catching something if you go hiking. Finally, I'd like to talk about a few of the hunting birds we have around Falls Lake. First off, the great horned owl, the big guy in the back here. And those aren't real horns. They're tufts of feathers that stick up to cover their ears while they're flying. And that's how you identify them usually. They're very unique in that they have those large tufts. They're also the largest owl in North America. They can be up to 25 inches tall, but they still only weigh about 3 to 3.5 pounds, because as birds they have hollow bones. And most of the weight you see here is in feathers, so that's what else makes them very lightweight. Now, something about all owls is, at the ends of their feathers, to help them fly silently, the feathers are serrated. So instead of being solid at the end, they spread out and split just a little bit. That way when the air flows through them, it moves through quietly instead of ruffling the whole feather. And that's how owls hunt. Now, most people say that owls are only nocturnal, meaning they only hunt at night. But great horned owls are actually opportunistic hunters. So while they may be most active right at dusk, at sunset, and throughout the night, you can still see them hunting during the day occasionally. Especially if you visit our B.W. Wells historic farmstead. We have several activity fields there. You can occasionally see an owl swooping down even during the afternoon to try and catch a rodent of some kind out of the field. Now, how do they do that? Their talons. Something special about our great horned owls is that they actually have one of the strongest talon grips of any bird in the world. They can exert 300 pounds of pressure per square inch. So once they've caught their prey, it's not going anywhere. Speaking of prey, what do they eat? rodents, snakes, even smaller owls. They're carnivores. They'll pick up anything they think they're big enough to fly away and carry off. And finally, we have our little screech owl down here. Cute little owls, only 6 to 8 inches tall, a wingspan of only about 22 inches. They're smaller owls, again, carnivores, and they fly silently too. They're just going after smaller things, mostly rodents, mice and rats. Now, our screech owl here actually comes in a few colors. This is what's called the rufous morph, or the brown morph. They don't change color or shed with different seasons. Each owl will be born unique, either brown or mottled gray or somewhere in between. But then that owl will carry that brown or gray color with it for its entire life. And they're unique in that they like to live in snags. Well, what's a snag? Sometimes trees get older, they get diseased, they become struck by lightning, and they die. Now the outer bark and outer holding wood will stay intact as the center heartwood rots away. And so as that heartwood in the middle rots away, it'll leave a cavity, a little hole, a bowl inside of that tree. And that's where our screech owls like to live, in that snag, a dead tree, in that cavity. So that way they're protected from predators, including the great horned owl. So alright, that's a few of the common animals you'd see at Falls Lake: our great horned owl, our little screech owl, our special marsupial, the possum, deer that can be found very commonly in state parks and game lands, but remember there's a difference. No hunting in state parks. And then our raccoons. We hope everyone comes out to enjoy the parks in a responsible and safe fashion, and always remember, give animals distance.